Hello, Reverend Carol here to share this Sunday's lesson. Now, today we're starting a new series of stories based on peace and justice. And another word for justice is fairness. Can you name some examples of fairness? How about if there's only one piece of cake left and your brother or sister takes it, but then cuts it in half and gives you that piece? Would that be fair? Yeah. Now, what if somebody in class makes a mistake while answering a question and everybody laughed at them? Would that be fair? Not too much. Well, today, the story I'm going to read to you is about a man from India named Mahatma Gandhi. Have you heard of Gandhi? He was a spiritual man who found ways to resist unfairness in nonviolent ways. And he was inspired by the teachings of Jesus. And before we get to the story, let me share our affirmation we'll be using during this unit of peace and justice. Now, I'm going to say it the first time, and then I'm going to invite you to repeat it with me 2 more times. I act with inner peace and fairness in all I do. All right, are you ready to repeat it with me? We'll go slow. I act with inner peace and fairness in all I do. One more time. I act with inner peace and fairness in all I do. All right. So let me read you the story. Let me see if I can find it. Mohandas Gandhi loved his country, especially India, and all the different types of Indian people, the rich and the poor, the Hindus and the Muslims, the upper class who lived in the cities, and the farmers who worked in the fields. He saw everyone as equal, all children of God. India is a free country now, but in Gandhi's time, it was a colony of Great Britain, just like America used to be. Many Indians, including Gandhi, thought that the British rules and laws were unfair. He wanted the British to leave so that India could be free and independent. For thousands of years, countries have used violence and war as a way to get independence. But Gandhi believed that the power of love was stronger than any weapon. He wanted to peacefully free his country. He organized thousands of Indians to use truth force to resist unfair laws. One of the laws stated that Indians needed to buy all of their cloth from Great Britain. Indian cloth makers couldn't sell their cloth to India, but British cloth was so expensive, many Indians couldn't afford it. Gandhi told Indians that they didn't need to follow the law because it was unfair. He encouraged them to boycott rather than buy British cloth and to make their own homespun cloth. Boycott means to not buy it. Gandhi traveled all across India with a small spinning wheel, showing people how to spin their own thread for cloth. Thousands of people followed his example. They lit bonfires and burned their British clothes. For them, it was a way to say, your law is unfair. We won't follow it. We are Indians. We can make our own clothes. We are proud of what we can do. The spinning wheel is now in the very center of India's flag. Now, another unfair law required Indians to buy salt from the British government and also pay a tax for it. Now, that may seem like a silly law. What's the big deal about salt? But to Indians, it was a really big deal. India is a very hot country, and people sweat a lot, especially the poor people who work in the fields under that hot sun. They needed to eat salt every day to keep their bodies healthy. And Gandhi said, next to air and water, salt is probably the greatest necessity of life. Gandhi didn't know what to do to help his people. He searched inside himself. He prayed and he listened to his inner guidance. The idea came to him to protest the unfair salt law by marching to the Indian Ocean, where salt washed up onto the beaches in clumps. In this way, he could take the power away from the British and show Indians they could be self-reliant. The ocean was 241 miles away. All along the way, people joined Gandhi in his protest march. After 24 days, he reached the ocean leading a crowd of tens of thousands. Gandhi offered a prayer, and then he picked up a tiny lump of salt, breaking the law. Within moments, people everywhere along the coast picked up salt too. Over 50,000 people were arrested, including Gandhi. News spread, and soon the whole world knew how unfair the British laws were to the Indian people. Even some of the people living in Great Britain thought India should be free. And thanks to Gandhi, India eventually did become an independent country. You know, although Gandhi protested the British laws, he never hated the British people. He called them friends and treated them respectfully. Even when he was beaten, he didn't fight back. Gandhi's belief in the power of love and truth inspired people all around the world. They called him Mahatma, which meant great soul. Now, that's a wonderful story, and it's a true story. You know, Gandhi lived a spiritual life of prayer, fasting, and meditation. And although he was imprisoned 4 times for either disobeying or ignoring laws he considered to be unfair, he remained steadfast in his goal of Indian independence. And he embraced all the people of India. And by his example, he taught them how to empower themselves. You know, Gandhi inspired Nelson Mandela, who worked to end apartheid in South Africa, and Martin Luther King Jr. here in the United States, and our 1960s civil rights movement were all inspired by Gandhi. Albert Einstein once said of Gandhi, generations to come will scarce believe that such a one as this ever in flesh and blood walked upon this earth. So that's the story about Mahatma Gandhi. I hope you enjoyed that story. And today, I want to close with our prayer for protection and want you to know how much we really miss you here at Unity of Austin, and that we love you and we bless you, and you are in our prayers all the time. All right, and if you can remember that prayer, I'm going to invite you to join with me. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The presence of God watches over us. and the presence of God, the power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Until next time, have a wonderful day.